For Louisiana versus all y'all, Jared Roser here today with Jena High football coach Jay Roark, who he has the Giants, as we were just talking about before jumping on the call, established as one of those top teams in 3A to watch year in and year out. And so we're going to kind of talk about where that squad is now, looking forward to this next season, as well as just some of the big picture, trying to figure out what's going on for the LHSAA and high school football as a whole. Coach, I know it's kind of crazy times, and everybody's trying to just get a handle on what we're looking at in a lot of different ways. Thanks for taking a few minutes to join me. How are you guys doing up there?
I appreciate it. We're doing well. The kids are working hard. We've got great attendance, and everybody's starting to kind of get a little antsy. But we're just going to continue to work. We got to be prepared no matter when it starts. We got to be ready. So just keep working.
From where the program was when you took over a few years back to now, obviously you've been at the helm for several years now, and you have kind of established a level of consistency there. Just kind of tell me a little bit about the progress you've seen and where the culture of the program is now, that even though you lose some great seniors last year, Traylon Jones at running back, Wesley Humphreys at linebacker, and really some key pieces all over, you guys have shown in recent years that no matter who heads off to college, that there's an expectation there for your players that kind of take the reins of the baton of the program. And I guess share with me a little bit about what that process has been like to build to that point, and what that conversation looks like with the next senior group up each year.
Well, early on it was all about changing the mentality of our kids, and the fact that when we first started doing this, there wasn't much of a summer program back then. There wasn't much of a year-round approach to it. And the first couple of years, it took a little while to get that going. But once we got that going and the junior high on the same page with us doing what we do, that's kind of what started helping us get better. And now it's just kids just show up and work. There's no battle for, we're about 95% attendance so far this summer, even with all the unknowns. So it's just we just work hard. It's we try to outwork everybody we play. There's no big science to it, or it's not about X's and O's or anything. Our kids just work really hard, and they love football. So of course, we do have some years with more talent than others, but every year our guys are going to come out and try to be the best they can be. And I think that's kind of what's kept us from going back to those 3-7, 2-8 seasons that were, pretty common several years ago. But one thing, I think probably the biggest thing is our junior high program, to be honest. They get excited down there. They win a lot of ball games down there. Our head coach, Austin Watley, down there does a great job. And when those guys get excited about winning at that level, they all want to play. And our numbers have grown tremendously. I think my first year we finished the season with like 31 players. And right now we've got 79 on the team, and it's usually somewhere between 60 and 70 each year. So that's the biggest key for us, and the kids just continuing to show up and work.
And you mentioned them having that focus right now despite everything else going on. How much has kind of the coronavirus-related uncertainty been something that you've had to really address with them? Obviously, I mean, it's a conversation that to some degree has to be had, but in terms of how to factor that in and not let that be a distraction, or however you kind of approach that conversation with them, what does that look like?
Well, we really haven't had a conversation about it up until this week. As far as we've concerned, we've been working as if we were going to start practice on August the 3rd. And then obviously there was some stuff that came out in the media a couple of days ago about football not starting until phase 4, which I kind of knew. I'd never heard it worded as phase 4 before, but we understood that we would be in phase 3 before they would reevaluate and see what we could and couldn't do as far as competition goes. With that being said, when all that came out, my phone caught on fire from parents and players and everyone calling, texting. And so Tuesday I reassured them that look, there's no plans to cancel football. Everything's still where we were. Obviously there's a chance that we may start late, but as of right now, we got to keep working and be prepared. Whether it's August the 3rd or September the 3rd, we've got to be ready. So, and we did. We had great attendance yesterday and great efforts. So hopefully that'll continue, and I think it will. Because I think the kids are hopeful that we'll get to play.
I think phase 4 was kind of a new terminology for a lot of folks that we heard. Before that, it was kind of more of okay, so whatever we call after phase 3, because we knew that a reevaluation would come at this point. You had posted on Monday also the long post that I shared on Facebook about let's figure out and take what precautions we can right now to try and best ensure our chances. And I know one part that I had pulled out of that was talking about the masks and saying, look, if it doesn't work, and it may not, what do we really lose by trying that and just hoping to give ourselves the best chance? That post caught a lot of attention. I mean, hundreds of shares, and a lot of people seem to really kind of rally around that and try and megaphone that message. Just tell me a little bit about what was going through your mind as you wanted to pass that message on, and just kind of, it was almost like a plea to, hey, let's kind of quit some of the bickering and just figure out what we can do.
Right. Well, that was kind of all around the same time that I was getting all these phone calls about the phase 4 information and just, worried about my kids being able to play. And I have not been a big, put your face mask on, and I haven't been against face masks. I don't really I go to work, and I may stop at the gas station or something, but I don't really go anywhere, so I haven't put a lot of thought into it. But I'm to the point now where let's try something. Let's, how much of a discomfort can a mask be? Yeah, they're not fun. I wear them every day at work, and I understand that it's not normal, and I have to go pull it down every now and then and kind of cool off for a minute. But if it don't work, it don't work. We've lost nothing but a little bit of comfort. But if it does work, we're in a much better situation, So why not give it a shot? I just don't understand the mentality of just being totally against it. I understand it's uncomfortable, but I feel like a lot of people approach it as taking a right away or something. And I guess I can kind of get that, but I really don't. It's about trying to do something, because nothing that we've done so far has worked, and I think that may be what people are skeptical of. But I'm just at the point now, let's try it. Let's try something. Let's try anything that we can do to make sure that our kids, because I saw the kids that the seniors that didn't get to play baseball and softball last year, and it's terrible, so I just don't want to see that again. So I'm willing to do anything.
Yeah, I think I'm there in line with where you are. It's obviously such difficult and, controversial and divided times where it seems like everything becomes a big political back and forth. But I was telling a few people a couple weeks ago, if my two options of worst case scenarios of being wrong are either I wear a mask and I'm a little bit uncomfortable for a few weeks or a month or however long, and then find out it didn't help, or I completely ignore the idea of wearing a mask and am finding out later that it would have helped and I didn't because I wanted to stick to that, then, just let me be better safe than sorry sort of thing.
And that's all I'm saying. This is not that my post had nothing to do with politics. Anybody that knows me knows that it was 100% about my kids. It's, and I'm not, if I go in town and see somebody that don't have a mask on, I'm not going to look at them funny or judge them or anything like that. It's just, let's just give it a shot. That's all I'm saying. It's not a political deal for me at all, not even in the least bit.
As we look at the conversations happening about how to get back to football, obviously so much is out of coaches or even principals' hands at this point. But as you've kind of chatted with other coaches and administrators around the state, what are some of the, if there are any, key pieces of the conversation that you think maybe get a little bit overlooked? Because it has become such a big conversation, and I think there are a lot of angles to it at times that get missed for some of the bigger talking points. Are there any aspects that have kind of resonated with you that you feel like maybe don't get as much discussion as need to be kept in that conversation?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, but I can tell you one conversation that football coaches have been having for a while, and even some baseball and softball coaches that just gets completely dismissed by the LHSAA, is the fact that probably our best chance to play football this year would be to flip fall and spring sports. As of right now, the way the guidelines are written, baseball and softball can play in the spring, in the fall, and football can't. So, and we may still not be able to play football in the spring, but everybody kind of feels like we're getting to that point of when's too late. When's it going to be too late for us to actually have a meaningful football season? And so that's a conversation that I wish was be taken a little bit more seriously. I know every time that I've seen an interview or quote or anything from Mr. Bonine, it's just doesn't seem like there's something they're interested in. And I get it. Like, I'm not interested. I would never want to do this. And I know that that's going to be a lot of work on those guys, having to reorganize and restructure championships and playoffs and stuff like that. But if that gives us our best chance for every kid to be able to participate in every sport that they play or participating in, then I think that's a conversation that needs to be had soon. Because if you wait too long, then and I'm talking, if we were going to do that, that would have to happen in the next probably 2 or 3 weeks, I would think. That's certainly that's getting a lot of attention, a lot of talk. I know there's supposed to be some meetings with football coaches and stuff to try to kind of come up and say, hey, let's come up with a plan. Because and I know it's difficult. You do have to kind of wait and see what the government's going to say. But meanwhile, let's come up with contingency plans. I'd like to see that.
For you, we kind of talked a little bit about just some of the consistency and the culture of the program, but looking at some of the specific players that you guys have, I know last year the quarterback Jordan Jackson was a junior, and so he and a couple of those key receivers should be back this year. In terms of filling in some of the gaps of those seniors from last year that have departed, and some guys that you maybe think have an opportunity to really kind of take a big step forward and play well in an increased role. Who are some of those new names, and what have you seen from some of those guys that are back for their senior years now? And we've seen some, but now they're kind of the old men of the program.
Right. We one thing that we do have this year is we're going to have a really strong offensive line. We returned everybody, and it's probably our biggest offensive line that we've had from tackle to tackle. Logan Brown and Todd are going to be our two leaders up front, and they're really good football players for us. Jordan Jackson that you mentioned, we expect big things out of him this year. He's grown a lot, and it's kind of unfortunate we've lost a lot of that training time to see exactly where we are, but we do expect big things out of him. Jadakiss Johnson played receiver for us last year. Cam Jackson was probably our leading receiver. He's going to play at Henderson State, but we expect Cam to step right into that role of being the lead guy there. And Toby Jackson is a guy at running back that could be really big for us. And we're hoping that works out. He's very physical, very strong. Defensively, Cade Koch returns he's a first-team all-district guy for us up front on the defensive line. And but there's going to be a lot of new faces, particularly at linebacker. We're replacing everybody at linebacker. But Cade and KJ, those guys up front, we expect big things out of them.
And hopefully ideally we'll get to that point and see some big things from those guys sooner than later. But whether it be the fall or a little bit later in the fall or the spring or whatever, certainly good luck to you guys continuing to stay safe and healthy and build toward that, and looking forward to seeing what the season holds.
I sure appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach. Again, he's Jena coach Jay Roark for Louisiana versus all y'all, Jarrett Roser. Thanks.